The world is waking up, and you finding your way here today is no coincidence. The spirit world always has a way of guiding us where we most need to be at the absolute perfect time. I'm your host, Lindsay Morlock, and you're listening to the Guided Podcast, where we explore how the spirit world works on our behalf to guide us along our paths. This is where you'll learn how to live a life that is both conscious and connected, so you can supercharge your pathway to healing and open to life's magic and miracles. Come along this journey to see how guided you truly are. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Guided Podcast. We have Catherine Ann back with us today, our resident intuitive astrologer, and she is going to chat with us about the energy surrounding this upcoming full moon that is in Taurus on November 15th. So, Catherine, welcome back. And where are we headed with this full moon?
Right. Thanks, Lindsay. So, like you said, November 15th, it's at 1:28 p.m. Pacific. So for at least half of the globe, it'll be on the 15th. Some people will have it in the morning of the 16th, but Pacific 1:28 p.m., you can adjust for your time zone. So we're going to look at this full moon in Taurus, starting with what does Taurus represent? So Taurus is steadfastness, stability. It's a builder. It's a creator. It likes to enjoy the simple things in life as much as it likes to enjoy the luxuries in life. So Taurus is ruled by Venus. Venus is the goddess of love and beauty and harmony. And Taurus brings that down to earth as that earth sign. So this full moon in Taurus is in that area of our chart where we like to build things, we like to create things, we like to appreciate the finer things in life. And one of the images that I love for Taurus is Ferdinand the Bull. So if you know the story of Ferdinand the Bull, he's this big, huge bull who just wants to sit in the meadow and smell the flowers and is not interested in fighting anybody. And that is the epitome of Taurus. I just want to sit and smell the flowers. Bring me my favorite coffee and baguette. I'm even more happy. This is about indulging and just like wanting to immerse yourself in that feeling of pleasure, safety, security, abundance. This is Taurus. Taurus is also represented in the tarot by the Empress. And so it's that fertile creation, that ability to grow from the earth. And so if you have a Taurus in your life, you may think of them as a bull because they can be very stubborn, but their stubbornness is really linked to liking the way things are. Taurus is a fixed sign, so they don't necessarily want to change. Once they've got settled, once they've already found their comfort zone, or their project that they're trying to bring to fruition, they are determined and they don't want to be taken off course from that. And that's where that stubbornness really comes in for a Taurus. But it's tied to these earthy pleasures, safety, and determination of bringing something to fruition. So this full moon in Taurus, really, if it were a clean full moon, it would just be speaking to that. Where do we want to bring more stability into our life? This is a full moon, so our manifestation process is already coming through with the seeds already been planted, and we're now looking at where is the spotlight being shown on this manifestation? Do we need to now harvest and do something with, or do we need to pivot to help it grow further? What's going on with this vision, this dream we had? The new moon in Taurus would have happened in May. So if you set an intention in May around these topics, now coming into November at this full moon, that's where you're going to be seeing it come to light. Like I said, if this were a clean full moon, we would just be talking about that. But this full moon is sitting hand in hand with Uranus, the planet of revolution, the planet of unexpected, erratic, unknown, lightning bolt change and insight. That's not exactly what Taurus wants to be doing, right? Taurus wants to be picking the flowers with its baguette and coffee and enjoying life or building its project. And Uranus wants to come in and shake things up. And it could be a literal shaking things up, or it could be with insights or downloads and mentally, emotionally shaking things up. But because it's in Taurus and it's an earth sign, it's very, very likely that we're going to see a physical manifestation of a shakeup. So Uranus has been in Taurus for a while now. It entered in May of 2018. It will exit in April of 2026. It has about a 7 to 8 year transit. And we've been, since 2018, experiencing what it feels like to have Uranus in Taurus. More earthquakes, more, this is like out in the global world, right? Land mass changes, melting, glaciers falling, tectonic plates shifting, earthquakes. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's been reports of earthquakes all over in places that don't usually get them. This is Uranus and Taurus. This is part of that marker for global events that Uranus and Taurus brings. So if you think about that, Taurus is the earth and Uranus is that lightning bolt, erratic change, that very much says earthquake. And that is the theme that Spirit gave me for this full moon. They gave me with 3 exclamation points. So I'm not trying to predict an actual earthquake, although we have had many while Uranus has been in Taurus. But this is not just your average, everyday Taurus full moon that wants to shine a light on our areas of security and abundance and what are we growing. Something is going to shake us up. And so one of the things that I really noticed was in order to have a full moon, the sun is opposite the moon. So this is the moon side by side with Uranus, which means the sun is also opposite Uranus. So in your life, the Sun-Uranus transit that happens in your mid-40s is called your midlife crisis. Happens for everybody when they hit their mid-40s or early to mid-40s. They're going to have Uranus opposing their sun. I can speak from personal experience that literally when Uranus opposed my sun, I went through a divorce. I moved house. I had all sorts of changes in my work environment. It was a lot of earthquake. So that is the signature that this moon is really dealing with. It's a midlife crisis transit. When you go out and buy your red convertible to make yourself feel better. And that rarely ever does the job, right? So what we're going to see with this as we talk through the signs is what is the area in your life really since 2018 that Uranus has been shaking up, making you reconsider how are these things going? What do you feel about all of this? And we're in 2024. We're only going to 2026. So we're on the tail end of this transit, if you really think about it. And that what Spirit kept bringing in for me was kind of like ready or not. And I know that was a theme a few months ago. We had a ready or not theme. This isn't the theme, but it's like, if you haven't been calibrating over the last few years with these Uranus shakeups in Taurus, this is a bigger one because this is right on the full moon. So the image they gave me, I thought it was a really random image. They gave me the image of when a police helicopter is searching for a suspect and they're flashing their big flashlight around and they land on the suspect and the suspect is all lit up. And then an earthquake happens too. And that's how they described it. So it's like the light is going to be shown on it. And now we're going to shake because we need you to really feel the spotlight. That's what it feels like. It's not just a spotlight. It's a mega spotlight. We really need you to look at this area in your life and potentially make some changes. Now, the blessing in all of this, and I feel like this is something that we've seen over this fall period where we've had some kind of intense energies, really, for a long time, actually. But I'm like, was it September? No, it was August, actually June, right? Maybe that's been an intense year. We've had a lot going on. But in this fall period in particular, what is really the blessing is that Sun is trine Neptune. So this is an aspect of serenity, enhanced imagination, understanding the deeper meaning, understanding that there's spiritual purpose, understanding and intuition and compassion. So what I kept feeling about this was, okay, yeah, you are going to feel a shake of some sort. It may just be internal. And all of that is going to be cushioned with those spiritual faith elements of your life, like everything is happening for us, or there's always divine timing, or something better is on the horizon. And you can go on and on and on, whatever mantra it is.
It's interesting because the last moon, the new moon, was about the container, right? And it was sort of this energy from spirit of like, we've gotcha. So would it be fair to say that as we move into the full moon, it's like we're being tested on, are we going to trust that we're held? Would that make sense?
Yeah, I almost want to say, they just said again, ready or not.
Like pushed out of the nest.
Okay, so when this is something that I've seen on the movies, right? When alarms go off, this is not a drill. That's what they're dropping in right now. This is not a drill. So I feel like, yeah, I can see how you would say, are we being tested? Are we being tested in our faith to know whatever lightning bolt, whatever earthquake, whatever mega spotlight is shown, there's divine purpose. There's deliberate intention.
So how do we help people to not have fear around like, oh no, what is coming? And instead take responsibility for this light that's going to be shown on something within us? Like, how do we help people to navigate that feeling empowered as opposed to let me hold my breath and grit my teeth because I'm not exactly sure what's on the horizon here?
Especially when we always have the full moon in Taurus at this time of the year in November. And we maybe just are enjoying our Thanksgiving meal because that is a perfect Taurus experience, right? Instead of like, cool. I think the thing is to consider is an earthquake or a sudden insight. While it sounds dramatic, it's not the rug being pulled out from under you necessarily. It's, okay, so I'm going to tell a story because back in May, I feel like maybe this might be my full moon experience as this is coming in right now. So back in May, that would have been new moon in Taurus time. I was nearly struck by lightning. The lightning struck in my neighbor's backyard and I lost about a minute of time. And I actually thought maybe I had a heart attack because I ended up going to the emergency room. It was a very like, what in the world just happened? It was wild, right? So that is how I would describe how close this moon is. It's right there, but it's in your neighbor's backyard, right? So it didn't kill me. Thank goodness, right? But it did give me a wake-up call. Holy guacamole. Made me think, do I have everything in place in case something happens to me for my children? It made me think, what in the world was spirit trying to tell me? Right? And I had to sit with that. Like, what for me, I really feel like it was a heart-opening experience for me. But I had to sit with spirit and really like, what was that message? And I had a couple other things happen. It brought out a lot of fear in my mom, in my children's dad, the people around me. And it was a wake-up call for them too. Like, oh my goodness, we could go at any moment, basically is what I felt the wake-up call was. So the reason I feel like I'm telling this story is because, yes, it literally was a bolt of lightning. But what it did, the shakeup was all something reasonable, something that could be dealt with, right? It was, do I have my ducks in a row for if something happens to me, for my children? Do I have a will? Do I have a trust? All these things, right? Do it for my ex-husband, my kid's dad. He was like, whoa, it made me think about what would happen if I had to raise these kids by myself. And so it shifted some perspective for him. It also shifted the dynamic in our relationship for the better. So I say all of that to say, yes, I do think something's going to be lit up. Yes, I do think there's going to be some sort of, I wouldn't expect anyone else is going to have lightning literally hitting their neighbor's backyard, but like that metaphor of something that goes, whoa, I need to pay attention. That's what it feels like. That to me is less frightening than the rug's going to get pulled out from under.
Yeah. So as you were speaking about your lightning story, one of the things that came in for me was something that happened to me this weekend where my dog was spooked by my backpack and took off and bolted and was running and dragging this backpack behind her. And thank goodness she's okay. But it really showed me, oh, she may appear calm, but she's easily spooked. And thank goodness this had a good outcome. But I need to really pay attention now to the fact that this is a thing. I can't pretend like she is not reactive. She is. And so that's going to really help me in the future make better choices about hanging on to her differently. But that to me that felt like an earthquake for me because it was this moment of, oh my gosh, my dog could have been lost, could have been hurt. That was really scary. Everything is fine. And what do I need to see here about how I move forward in the future?
Yeah, I love that you said, what do I need to see here? Because that couldn't be a better phrase for the full moon, right? That big spotlight. What do you need to see about the trajectory of something you're trying to put in place? And as I'm reflecting on this with that story, I remember very clearly setting a new moon intention, asking to open my heart space. Didn't know it was going to be so dramatic, right? But I got the message. And that was just even so the seed planting at the time for me. Now I'm at the full moon and I feel like I'm really going to have this spotlight shown on. So how am I doing with that? Right? How am I doing with holding compassion for myself and others? How am I doing with walking life from my heart and not my head, right? You talk about in your guided intro about the journey, right? From your head to your heart and what a long journey that is. And I feel like for me, this is what's the spotlight is going to be shown on is, so how am I doing with that? So, and then with this other part of having that cushion of Sun trine Neptune that's saying, Spirit's got us, right? So whatever mantra you need is the mantra I think that would work, as long as the mantra is something to the effect of everything's always working out for me, right? This is like, I don't know why, I don't know how, but this is all intentionally, deliberately happening for my own growth. And I tend to think we're in a full moon. This somehow is an experience that is part of that path of something you've already been working on. And it's just opening up that a little bit more. Maybe it's telling you to pivot. Maybe it's saying, you're doing fantastic. Keep going. So I think that's also really important, because shining a spotlight, although the image they gave you was a suspect, right? But shining a spotlight could be shining a spotlight on your success.
So as you say that, what they show me is a piñata exploding, almost like, to your point, right? If we have been taking responsibility for our stuff, it's almost like the earthquake is that you smack the piñata and all of the goodies fall out of it. So that might be another expression of this. I love that thought of like also an earthquake, right? Because it's a crack, but the goodness is exploding in like this amazing way.
Ooh, oh my God, love that. Wow, look at this piñata. I love it. And I've mentioned many times about my love for conscious ink tattoos, but how is this moment perfect? Right? That is, for me, such a powerful mantra. Even when I don't understand what's going on, how is this moment perfect? Because without a doubt, We've been shown time and time again, we're guided. They've got us. This is all part of our healing journey. And I know that we talked about in one of the last episodes about how the mistakes are factored in, right? And the mistakes, I want to say that in quotes, because the taking the path to the right versus the path to the left still gets us where we're going. It's just a different journey along the way, right? So we're very supported. So we're going to actually run through very quickly, what is the area that Taurus holds for each sign? And you can reflect back on since April of 2018, what has been shifting in that area of your life? And then also for this full moon, you'll have a place where you might see that insight, that pinata burst, right? That shakeup that goes, oh, this. And you move in whatever direction that, oh, this shows you. Right? So we're going to start with Taurus. So for Taurus, this full moon is showing up in the first house of you, appearance, body, identity. So you are or have been spending for many years making a revolution to who you are, like the actual you. So maybe you've gone on some sort of journey with your body. I know actually my astrology teacher is a Taurus rising, and he has gotten into weightlifting and bodybuilding, really a whole transformation of that part of his body. So that's a really good example of how to show how Uranus in Taurus has made some changes in his life. So Taurus, their body. Then we're going to move to Gemini. So Gemini, this is going to show up in your 12th house of your subconscious, where you retreat to. It's also your area of self-undoing. So for the last many years, you've been working on a journey of the subconscious and having these lightning bolt insights where you go, oh, that's what was happening. That's what that means. Now I'm going to shift. Now that I see it, I can heal it and release it. So that is the area where you may get another lightning bolt insight that opens you up to another bit of healing and bringing something up from the subconscious to release. Now we're going to look at Cancer. So Cancer, this is going to show up in your 11th house of community, hopes and wishes, friendship. It's the good spirit. It's good luck. So this is beautiful, right? Cancer has this very solid way of looking at friendships and networks and groups. And you may have experienced since 2018 some shakeups there. Like, hey, they were my friend. Or oh, wow, maybe I'd rather spend more time with this volunteer group than that volunteer group. That's what's been happening for Cancer. So something may light up around your networks, your groups, your friendships, or just your hopes and wishes. For Leo, this is a shakeup in career. And I have seen this firsthand in the Leos that I know, that for the last many years, there's been shakeups in what they want to do. I almost want to say, what they want to do when they grow up, right? It's like, who do I want to be in my career? Is this the way I want to be spending the rest of my life? Is this the legacy I want to live? And if you're not in career, if you're retired or a student, how do I want to show up in the world? And you may have a jolt in your career and public reputation house that you go, oh yeah, this is awesome. The pinata, the rewards, or okay, I see this now, trying to pivot. All right, so we're going to move on to Virgo. This is lighting up your 9th house of travel, study, religion, spirituality, religious organizations. And what Virgo has been doing is a soul searching type of journey since 2018. That really talks about, how do I expand my worldview? How do I expand my beliefs? And so some of these Virgos may have experienced that, hey, what I was taught in my religious upbringing is not what I really believe. That doesn't jive with my soul, right? Or maybe there's been tons of travel because you want to get out there and learn the world, right? And let travel expand your mind. Or maybe you've taken on a new course of study. So for Virgo, you may have an unexpected opportunity to go on a trip, unexpected pivot in your studies. Maybe you decide you want to go one direction instead of another. That's the area for Virgo. For Libra, we're looking at the 8th house of debt and taxes. This is really the house of resources of others. So the things that have to do with, because Taurus is your stability, you really might be looking at, Libra, how have your partnerships created your wealth? Not your earning potential, right? But if you're married, how does your partner provide for you? Also, you're going to want to have that stability of, I have a retirement, I have an inheritance, I have a legacy. And so that's something that Uranus may have been really shaking up for the last many years, where maybe you didn't always feel so stable in these areas. And you may also get a big light shown on, oh, wait, I thought I had this figured out with my retirement, but maybe I need to look at it again. So that's Libra. Especially, I just want to say, and so this is not because of where the moon and Uranus are, but just because if you happen to be one of those people who is in midlife crisis zone, you really may be looking at how other people's resources impact you, right? Because if our Libras, they just spent a lot of time with this me, we, North Node, South Node axis, and maybe they're realizing this relationship is not healthy. You might really be looking at, how am I going to be provided for? So that's just a very practical thing that could happen for Libras in particular. So for Scorpio, this is in your house of marriage, partnership, one-on-one relationships, your audience, your client. So the Scorpio wants a very stable relationship. They want consistency, they want loyalty, they want trustworthiness. And this Uranus has been bumping that around for a while. Maybe, unfortunately, you're finding that your partner is not those characteristics. Or maybe you're realizing that you aren't living up to the characteristics that you say you want in a partnership. So this is where that insight or revolution is happening. Sagittarius, you're going to find this in your health and wellness house. And so you're really going to be looking at, am I doing everything I'm supposed to be doing to be healthy, to be well, to be reducing my stress? This is a house about service to others. So where are you maybe overdoing for others at an expense of your own health, because it's causing you stress or because it's limiting your time to do your own self-care? You have been working on this for a while with Uranus, and that is where you're getting the twists and turns and earthquakes. Capricorn. So for Capricorns, we are having it in our fifth house of children, creativity, pleasure, romance, another great house. So where are the earthquakes? Are you being, there, spirit is giving me the image of someone holding someone's shoulders and shaking them. Like, can you just have some fun? Tracks. Can you just dive into your creativity? There is more to life than work, Capricorn. Go have some fun. Go have a wild romance. Go play with your children, whatever. That is the Uranus moon that we have this time around. So Aquarius, you have this full moon in your fourth house of home and family. So what's really interesting about this is unexpected, right? Uranus, unexpected changes in the home. Well, that could be you move. It could be you're in the middle of a move that was already planned, but you're kind of like dealing with unexpected stuff that you didn't think was going to come up in your literal home, or you decide to sell your house, but it's a full moon, right? So you've already planted the seed. You've already been working on it. So this isn't a new choice. If you decide to sell your home, you've been thinking about it for a while, but it's also your family. So is there, since 2018, what in your foundations, in your childhood family has been rocked? And that what you thought was, they're saying bedrock, right? As stable as bedrock. There's been some cracks that you've had to deal with over the last few years, and you might see a spotlight on it. Family dynamics, right? Pisces, you are going to see this in your general neighborhood, your local environment, with communications, especially. It could be siblings. It could be short road trips. It's like the jump drawer, right? This third house encompasses a lot, but really it's your local environment. So what has been shaking up in your local environment, and what's going to shine a spotlight and say, oh, it feels to me like downloads, especially for people who are have that intuitive connection. It's like that lightning download of a realization, a communication coming in that goes, oh, that's where I need to pivot. That's what I needed to see. And then Aries, last but not least, this is going to be showing up in your second house of earned income, money, possession, assets, value, your self-esteem, even what you put in what you nourish yourself with, like the food you eat. So for Aries, you've been on this huge journey since 2018 of figuring out how to make more money, or is money really worth it to you? Or are you worth your money? Or it's this self-esteem/money thing going on with Aries. And so you may have unexpected opportunity to earn income. Maybe a contract comes in. This isn't a windfall. This isn't like winning the lottery, but maybe you have an opportunity to earn additional income. Or maybe you're going, oh, whoa, I thought earning more income was what I wanted, but actually I realized what I value is something else. So that's where Aries is going to feel all of this.
It's really interesting to hear how all of these different things might have that searchlight on them, right? What are we searching for within ourselves? And I feel like, I know for me, I'm trying to remember what my intentions were back in May with that new moon. I need to go back and review my journal now and remember.
It's pretty easy to remember when you were almost struck by lightning.
Yeah, I would say so. What's also really interesting is in the United States, this full moon is fairly close to the election. And I remember when we had the election between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump years ago, I remember when Donald Trump won, saying to a friend of mine, there was such disruption and unrest on both sides as a function of that. And I always feel like the environment reacts to our human vibration. And one of the things that is really interesting is that there was actually an earthquake after that election. And I was not surprised that happened. There might have even been a tsunami. I could be wrong about that, but there were many different natural kind of events that to me were such a reflection of, or a mirror of, the human disharmony. And find it really interesting that not only is this in the stars, but it's so close to a time that this election is so close as it is that you would expect there to be unrest or discord at any level. Yeah, it's just interesting how it all intersects.
Well, to your point, there's been much more unrest in many areas of the world, and there's been many more earthquakes. And so it's a reflection of what the collective is going through. Gaia is reflecting that back to us and being like, we're shaking, we're changing and shaking. And sometimes we need a little shift. Most of the time, we don't want it to be a shift that a crevice opens up and we fall into it. But a shift, sometimes we need a kick in the pants.
I feel like Spirit's being punny. They just said shaken to awaken.
Oh, Spirit, you're so fun.
Very punny today. But that's it. We're shaken to awaken.
Yeah. And we've been at I want to say at a faster trajectory of awakening over this last 6 months than previously. And the astrology mimics that, or I want to say it expresses that. And at the same time, we're shaking, but we've got you. We're shaking, but we've got you. That's what it's been like over and over again. And so I also hope by running through like those areas of your chart that when you think about that and what has happened since 2018 in that area of your life, it can settle any fear around this idea of earthquake, right? Because we've been doing this for many years now. We're all still here, right? It's just changes and shifts. And I have so many examples as a Capricorn of how since 2018, Spirit has been shaking me and saying, could you just be a little bit more fun? Could you dive into your creativity? Could you realize that it's okay to do this, right? So for me personally, not so scared of this earthquake spotlight happening at the same time because I see how this has been happening and it's for my better.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that I love about journaling as well, is when we have the ability to track our progress and our growth, we can go back and reflect on these things and see not only how far we've come, but what might be coming back around for healing. I know for me, I just last night even went through in my head the last 2 years of learning and reflecting on the growth that I've seen in the last 2 years. And it's pretty amazing to see how quickly these energies are helping us, like you're saying, to grow and evolve. I feel that acceleration. And I think just the acceleration of our awakening and the energies are moving so much faster now on the planet than they were even 5 years ago. And so everybody is awakening that much faster. And that in and of itself can be jarring. I know I was speaking with clients today who are just feeling so much in their bodies, myself included. And it's like we can't see what's up ahead or what's around the corner, but we feel it in our bodies. And we have to be able, I mean, that alone can feel like the earthquake, like what is coming? And yet our minds can't quite make sense of it. And so it can be a little bit crazy making. But even that to me can feel like an earthquake because it's like, why is my body so unsettled? Why do I feel off kilter? And we really have to use our tools and our processes to find that stability within, to hold ourselves through the changes that are coming.
Absolutely. I feel like a broken record in saying this, but this is what Saturn and Pisces is all about, right? We've been asked to get disciplined with our spiritual practices to create that container because they're moving us quickly. And we needed to have something that held us in order to be moved quickly through this, because this feels very quick. And it's ironic because I know if you've been in this spiritual new agey community for a long time, you may think, oh my gosh, this is taking forever. But in reality, we can only move as fast as we can move. We are human. We only can move as fast as we can move. But I think many people would say, if they reflected on their last few years, the quick transition and the acceleration in healing has been dramatic. And it's just continuing. And so that is where lean in to your intuition, lean into the compassion that you have, lean into your practices, because spirit's rocking and rolling and we're along for the ride.
Love it. Love it. So just sum this all up for us. What is the main takeaway and what would you leave people with for the energies of this full moon?
So again, spirit gave me the theme earthquake with 3 exclamation points. I really like Lindsay's reframe of piñata. That's awesome. But it's, yes, there's, whether they're physical, mental, emotional insights, there's a shakeup happening, but everything is happening for us. I think really that's what it comes down to. Everything is happening for us, and lean into those practices and you will actually, I think, if you're able to lean into those practices and understand whatever change or insight is being lit up during this full moon, I think it actually could be exciting as opposed to nerve-wracking.
Amazing. Thank you so much as always. And for those of you who want to reach out to Catherine Ann for additional information or set up individual readings and sessions, you can find all of her information at catherineannenergy.com. And as always, her additional social media accounts and information will be in the show notes. And so we will look forward to seeing Catherine next month for information on the upcoming new moon. Bye for now. Thank you so much for listening to the Guided Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I would be so grateful if you would share it with a friend or even leave me a review so we can ensure that it makes its way into the ears of listeners who need to hear these messages most. Until next time, may you remember how guided you truly are.